For years, Dirty Jobs was the show that let America peek behind the curtain at the people doing the work no one else wanted. The jobs nobody talked about, the jobs nobody glamorized, the jobs that actually keep the country running.
My name's Mike Rowe, and this is my job.
And at one point, this show wasn't just popular, it dominated cable TV. It made Mike Rowe a household name, sparked debates about education, and even changed how people thought about blue-collar work.
So just go down and pull this stuff up?
Yeah, they work from the bottom. Build a nice foundation.
Right.
So why did it fall off? What really happened behind the scenes? And how did a show that once pulled millions of viewers end up struggling to stay relevant in an era where 15-second videos rule the internet?
What?
That's puking on you.
What? Doc, all right?
Today, we're breaking down the rise, the peak, the decline, and the unexpected cultural forces that squeezed Dirty Jobs off TV. And the twist? It didn't fall off because it got boring. It fell off because the world changed around it. Dirty Jobs didn't start as a giant Discovery Channel hit. It began as a humble TV segment when Mike Rowe, working for a local San Francisco station, followed a sewer worker for a story. The segment wasn't polished, it wasn't scripted, and it wasn't glamorous. It was messy, uncomfortable, and surprisingly funny. Mike almost gagged a dozen times, and viewers loved every second of it. When Discovery picked up the idea, they didn't try to overproduce it. They liked the rawness. Mike stepping into the nastiest, smelliest corners of America, cracking jokes while trying not to vomit. It felt real at a time when reality TV was starting to look suspiciously scripted. Dirty Jobs wasn't pretending. The mess was real, the danger was real, and Mike Rowe's reactions were very, very real. That honesty is what made the show stand out from day one. It wasn't about making fun of the workers, it celebrated them. And that approach caught on fast. Dirty Jobs arrived at the perfect moment. Early 2000s reality TV was filled with shows that were supposed to look real, but viewers were starting to notice how staged everything felt. Dirty Jobs, on the other hand, was chaos with a purpose. Every episode gave viewers a reason to appreciate a job they'd never thought about. From roadkill collectors, to garbage sorters, to bridge inspectors dangling 100 feet over water, the show pulled people into a world most had never seen. It had the perfect mix. Humor, danger, curiosity, actual education, and a host who didn't pretend to be an expert. Mike Rowe wasn't there to teach the workers. He was there to learn from them. And that small detail made the show feel incredibly respectful. People weren't just watching to laugh at the gross stuff. They were watching because Dirty Jobs felt like a love letter to the workers who make the country function. By the mid-2000s, Dirty Jobs became one of Discovery Channel's top shows. This was the era when cable TV still ruled, and Dirty Jobs pulled in millions of viewers each week. Families watched it together. Kids watched it for the weird jobs. Adults watched it because they admired the workers. And everyone watched it because Mike Rowe somehow made the nastiest job look entertaining. From 2005 to 2012, Dirty Jobs was in its prime. It climbed the ratings, became a flagship series, and helped define Discovery's brand. The show had spin-offs, specials, merchandise, you name it. Mike Rowe didn't expect to become America's blue-collar spokesperson, but that's exactly what happened. His authenticity resonated. He wasn't Hollywood polished. He wasn't trying to look perfect. He wasn't afraid to get filthy, sweaty, or humiliated on screen. And outside the show, he started speaking more publicly about the importance of skilled trades and how society undervalued them. He launched his foundation, Mike Rowe Works, to push for vocational education and skilled labor. Dirty Jobs wasn't just a TV show anymore. It became part of a national conversation about work, opportunity, and respect. But while the show was reaching its peak, the world around it was quietly starting to shift. Around 2010 to 2012, reality TV took a hard turn. Networks realized that drama, conflict, and extreme personalities brought in faster money than educational programming. Shows like Honey Boo Boo, Jersey Shore, and Real Housewives began taking over. Producing big, dramatic personalities was cheap. Producing a show that required travel, heavy equipment, permits, safety teams, insurance, and unpredictable conditions was not. At the same time, cable TV started losing ground. Streaming was rising. People were quitting cable packages. Advertisers were shifting budgets. A slow, thoughtful show about real workers had to compete against reality shows where someone flips a table every 5 minutes. Dirty Jobs didn't fit the new, fast reward, low-effort style of reality TV. If you wanted to see crazy, messy, chaotic content, you didn't need cable anymore. YouTube and later TikTok offered insane, wild, endless content at lightning speed. A 45-minute educational episode suddenly had to compete with their 12-second clip of someone pressure washing a sidewalk, time-lapse of a construction project, a guy falling into a mud pit with dramatic music. Dirty Jobs wasn't outdated. The world just developed a shorter attention span. The biggest secret about Dirty Jobs? It was incredibly expensive and incredibly hard to produce. Every episode required legal clearance for work sites, safety checks, travel across the country, multiple camera crews, hazard pay, permits, protective gear, environmental controls, insurance that cost more than some entire shows. And because the jobs were unpredictable, filming often took way longer than planned. Sometimes the job would suddenly get canceled, the worker would get sick, or the company would shut down the site for safety reasons. On top of that, they couldn't script anything. They just had to show up and hope the job was interesting. All of this meant Dirty Jobs was one of the most difficult and costly shows on Discovery's lineup. As Dirty Jobs got more expensive, Discovery found cheaper ways to make money. Car rebuild shows, survival shows, drama-heavy reality competitions, they all brought in big returns with less risk. Dirty Jobs didn't fit the new strategy. Networks wanted characters and story arcs. Dirty Jobs gave them real people doing real work. And on TV, real started becoming less profitable than exaggerated. So even though the ratings were still strong, Discovery began moving away from it. Eventually, the network pivoted hard toward personality-driven adventure shows, paranormal hunts, and wow factor content. Dirty Jobs wasn't flashy, it wasn't dramatic, it didn't create viral moments, it was too grounded for the new era of TV. Another thing happened. Viewers slowly adjusted to faster content. Even loyal fans started drifting toward whatever was new and trending. People wanted bigger stakes, bigger drama, faster entertainment, shorter episodes, loud, flashy personalities. Dirty Jobs, in comparison, was slow, steady, and repetitive. That doesn't make it bad, but it does make it harder to compete against shorter, punchier, algorithm-driven content. In 2012, Discovery canceled Dirty Jobs. And here's the surprising part. It wasn't because the show was failing. Mike Rowe publicly explained that the show didn't end because of bad ratings. It ended because Discovery changed direction. They wanted louder shows, cheaper shows, and shows that required less logistical chaos to film. Dirty Jobs didn't fit the plan anymore. Mike said something that summed it up perfectly. Dirty Jobs didn't die, it was murdered. Discovery wasn't trying to hurt the show, but the business had changed. The network had to chase what was profitable and easy to produce. Dirty Jobs was neither. There was a reboot in 2022, but it never had a chance. It dropped into a world where TikTok dominates attention, and where people watch videos at 1.5x speed. A slow show with long setups couldn't compete in the content arms race. Not even with Mike Rowe's loyal fan base could save it. The audience hadn't turned on Dirty Jobs. The world had just moved on. Dirty Jobs didn't fall off because it got worse. It didn't fall off because people stopped caring. It didn't even fall off because the jobs got boring. It fell off because TV changed, culture changed, attention spans shrank, and networks started chasing faster profit. Dirty Jobs came from a time when you could spend an hour watching someone scrape barnacles off a boat and walk away feeling like you learned something. Today, if that video doesn't have dramatic background music, a voiceover, and subtitles that pop up every 5 seconds, it gets skipped. But the show's legacy is still alive. It changed how America sees blue-collar workers. It both highlighted jobs nobody ever appreciated. It made people laugh, gag, and learn, sometimes all at once. And it proved that the most important work in the country often happens where nobody's looking. Even though Dirty Jobs isn't dominating cable anymore, its impact didn't disappear. It just shifted. Mike Rowe is still advocating for workers. The conversations he started are still alive. And the jobs featured on the show? Still being done every day by people who rarely get the spotlight. Dirty Jobs didn't fall off. The world just stopped paying attention long enough to notice how much we needed it. For more deep dives like this, subscribe, smash that like button, and share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for hanging out. See you next time.